Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. We're glad whether you're watching us live tonight or if you're listening to a podcast later on or watching this show again later on. We're just happy that you chose to be part of our audience.
That's right. So, how are you doing tonight?
Good. We're going to have a really good guest who wears a lot of hats, you guys.
Lots of hats.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. I want to remind everybody right after this show to switch over to Voice of Indie podcast on blogtalkradio.com with Beam Weeks and Stephen Gary G's. And that's every Wednesday right after our show. This week's guest is going to be author Stacy Troilo. I'm sorry, Stacy, if I mispronounced that. She's a writing professor, freelance writer, and an editor. And then episode rewind this Saturday is going to be the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles Reveal Part 1.
Oh, again. Fun. That was a crazy night, you guys.
Caleb Purtle and C.W. Hawes and Cindy Davis.
Awesome.
That's at 5:30 p.m. right here, right where you're watching right now. You can catch that episode rewind. And then the next Wednesday, we're going to be traveling again, or gone. We're not going to be available. So we have a pre-recorded show.
We're going to be getting ready to have our 14 grandchildren, our 6 children, our 6 children-in-laws.
We have to rebuild the house
over for Thanksgiving dinner, and I'll be cooking and cooking and cooking.
That's right. So we're going to have, we had a visit with Canadian author Douglas Gardam, and the Canadian newspaper, national newspaper, I guess, Globe and Mail is the name of it, I think. They were quoted saying Douglas Gardam is the hardest working Canadian novelist you've never heard of. I guess that's good, right?
He is good.
So
Marjorie Deering says, nice to see you this Wednesday night. Love Wednesdays. Thanks, Marjorie.
Hey, Marjorie.
We like them too. We're glad you're in the audience.
Shall we bring in
Yes.
CJ?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Our guest tonight is CJ Peterson. Come on in.
Hi.
Hi, CJ.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on the show. Go ahead and let everybody. Oh, first, let's say hi to Joe. Joe Conjal author says,
hey,
hi, Rob and Joan. Hi, Joe. We're glad that you're here. Anyway, tell people some of the hats that you wear because you do a lot.
I do. I am an author, blogger, podcaster, publisher, and believe it or not, a little bit of a farmer. We have an apiary and an orchard. So just a few hats. Not
And a
very
mama.
and a mom and a stepmom. So yeah, just a few.
There you go.
George Dismuke says, strapped in and ready to watch, which reminds me.
Yeah, let's take a moment here, CJ, if you don't mind.
No
I want
problem.
to tell everybody, George has some news that he wanted us to make everyone aware of. He's got a new release coming up in January. It's the Siren Hunter. It's part 3 in the Siren Song series. It's going to launch in January, like I said. Advanced sale price is $12. No payment is necessary now, but you can just email him and to get it your name on the list. And you can email him at mayanart, as MAYANARTINTL at yahoo.com. And if you couldn't catch that, email us and ask us, and we'll
make sure
steer
you get
that
it.
direction. Yeah. So the photography for that book cover was by Helga Schmidt.
Yeah, she's really good.
Cover design was by Ashley Byland, and the model is Nadine Dismukes. So
congratulations, George, on your new release.
there you go.
I know.
All right, so
he's a fellow Texan.
Yeah,
there you go.
Down there in Texas, a lot of good things coming from Texas.
There are tons of good things.
I know.
I mean, everything's bigger and better in Texas. I mean, you just can't beat it.
There you go.
That's what they say.
True.
Well,
in the world.
We're from Florida, so actually I'm not prejudiced towards Florida because neither one of us was originally from here anyway.
Texas can have bigger hurricanes. It's okay with us.
Oh, geez.
Well, actually, you guys unfortunately have been getting hit this year.
Unfortunately, we have. But if you would like to have the bigger ones, that's
6 weeks to the day after Ian, we got another one.
Yeah.
Well,
and our son lost his house in the first one. I mean, it's still standing, but they have to tear everything out. And then the second one hit, and we were like, but it didn't flood the second time, so that was good.
I used to be a catastrophe adjuster, so I keep a really good pulse on the weather wherever it's hitting. Force of habit, but
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So CJ, how did you get steered in the direction of writing
and publishing
and all the things associated with what you do?
Well, like most authors, I started as one of those little kids who used to read under the sheet at night with the flashlight, and get in trouble, go to sleep. No, I'm finishing the last chapter, and it's 3:00 in the morning. So, you always, I'm an ADD and an OCD kid. So I've kind of got that battle going on inside me anyway. So trying to keep stuff straight is a treat. It's fun. But I learned to work with it. However, my childhood wasn't great. So as a form of escape, I used to write stories because that left me in control of the narration of the storyline. And I just did it as an escape. And then when my husband and I got married, I read one of them to him, and he's like, no, you need to publish these. And it's kind of like, well, I wrote them for me. I don't know. I really don't want to put them out there. And he says, no, you really need to publish these. People need to read what's in these books. So God and I made a deal that we would publish them, and he would get them in the hands of those who need them and the messages that are in the stories. And it's turned really well. A lot of my novels, a portion of the proceeds go to charities. So it allows me to give back while, I'm still getting stories out, and people love it. Well, okay, let me rephrase it. People either love them or they hate them. There really is no in between. And I'm okay with that. But there really is either they love them or they hate them. And I'm like, you know what? If you hate it, it's not for you. But I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback on them. And the Team A.N.G.E.L series was the first series, which consists.
Which one is the Team A.N.G.E.L.s? Let's see.
That includes the Grace Restored series.
Okay, here it is. Grace Restored series.
The Holy Flame Trilogy.
Here's the Holy Flame Trilogy. Wait a minute. Got to get rid of one and put up the other. Here we go.
From Within.
Strength from Within.
Mhm.
They're all here
That's the
someplace.
bottom.
They are.
Yes, here they come.
Those particular ones are going on at the same time. And then there's a 20-year jump into the Divine Legacy series.
Okay, we'll go back up to that. Divine Legacy. Here we are.
And then it's wrapped up in Christmas Angels.
Okay.
And basically, the characters actually cross over storylines in it. And in this particular series, the spiritual realm crosses into the physical. So where there's dark, there's light. Where there's angels, there's demons. And the underlying group is Angel, which is available to nurture God's eternal love. And they get their assignments from Michael the Archangel, who ships them out in the world to help people. There's Air Force Black Ops. So there's military, there's police, there's firefighters, there's all sorts of stuff all mixed in it. And it was fun. And I was with those characters for 10 years. So then moving on to the next series, which was the Sands of Time trilogy. That was a bit difficult. But that one I often describe as like Stranger Things minus the Mind Flayer stuff meets X-Men. So it's where Professor Noah Roth is trying to initiate this gene in babies, and he's doing it under the guise of a fertility clinic. And he basically is picking women with little to no family, and he's seeding the experiments. And it takes him about 20 years before he finally generates it in these 4 children. And the moms die of quote unquote natural causes, and 2 nurses figure it out. So they take 2 of the children, and basically I tell people appointed times things start blowing up. They pretty much explode in Race Against Time, and they go nuclear and out of time, because it turns out that there's more than just those 4 kids, and they're all through the US. And so it's those kids versus this professor who thinks he's a god because he created these children. And he's the most powerful man on the planet because he has all these children with abilities. So that was fun. And then my final challenge at this point was Chain Reaction. And that one I wanted to do a time travel one. I'm a sci-fi geek. And for this one, what I did was I did the butterfly effect with a twist. Most people are like, you don't go back in time to change anything because it'll change, how things shake out. Well, in this case, Trip, the gentleman on the cover, goes back to his great-great-great-grandmother, and they go back in time to change their family's history, because where he's at, he's the last one in their family line. And their family's line has a lot of like early deaths and criminal activity, and they're wanting to change certain things around to see how that shakes up. So they go to 1813, 1920, and 1987. And then for the anthology, I took a portion of that and they went back to 1650 Ireland. So I like to have fun with storylines, and I like challenges. And there's not a whole lot of subjects I won't touch, because to me, life is life. I'm a Christian fiction author, but I'm a realistic one. Life is life. It's just how you deal with it that's different. And that's what I do. I'm known as a literary assassin. We talked about this beforehand. I am actually known as a literary assassin, but they're all deaths for a reason. They're not just a death for no reason. And they're all glorious. And so it's fun.
Chanel says, wow, so many books. Hi, Chanel. I'm glad you're feeling well enough to be here, love. Lonnie Becca Jones says, hi, I'm here.
Hi.
And Joe Conjal says, hi, CJ, your baby Yoda is staring at me.
See, he called a baby Yoda too.
Yes.
It's mine, so it's baby Yoda. And then we have David Tennant as Doctor Who. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. You may be one of our missing daughters. Not that we don't have enough daughters. We have 5 of them and only 1 son. But
oh, bless his heart. Poor guy.
I know. And he's the most manly man you could want to meet. He had to be.
Sure.
George Dismuke says, ooh, what I would give to go back about 60 years and change things.
I know. Right? If you know what you knew now, what would you change? And
he's had 5 wives. I think he'd change the first 4 to stick with Nadine. Just saying. Knowing George.
There you go.
Also a children's author as well. So I span genres, and I span, I just have fun out there.
Okay. Where is
Chief and Sarge.
Mm-hmm.
I
The
don't
Chief
see
and Sarge books.
Here it is.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm. Chief and
That's
Sarge.
so cute.
That's my husband and I on the covers. And yes, Chief and
Nice.
Sarge are a little stuffed animal, a stuffed Chief and a stuffed Sarge. If you go to their webpage, they actually have, it started off as real life adventures because I am not a children's book author. I will own that. And people fell in love with Chief and Sarge and the adventures that we took them on because stuffed animals, face it, can go to places that kids love to get into but are not allowed. They're allowed to touch things and do things. And so people are like, oh my gosh, you need to put these into books. And I'm like, but I'm a big people book author. I'm like, how in the world am I going to write little people books? And like, just do the adventures. So for like the first one with cruising, we literally took them on 2 cruises. They have a little box they sleep in. Guys in the back, I carry them around in a backpack, which is in the book. We do a safety page in each one, and then there's fun facts in the back for the older family members. One family told me that they use them as trivia questions at the table.
Nice.
Cool.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Lonnie Becca Jones says cute, and George Desmuke says true. Number 3 would be erased from my history, which is the horrible Deborah.
Deborah.
No.
Yeah, I've been part of an online multiplayer dragon game for 13 years, and I named one of the dragons Deborah in his honor.
I bet you love that.
Yes, I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, everything that you talk about is so much what our family does. We even do D&D campaigns, which with the size family that we have can last quite a long time.
Takes a long time to go very short distance.
Yes.
I did that in high school. I was a half elf, so I get it.
I'm a half elf.
There's a friend that's trying to get me to kind of participate and join in on her Monday night when she does it on Twitch.
Yeah.
In your spare time.
In your spare time.
Yeah. I mean,
when you're not publishing, writing, podcasting, or blogging.
And I wasn't always all of that up until Divine Legacy series, which remember I said that spanned 10 years. So about the first 8, was it 7 or 8 years? I was just an author, and I was happy just being an author. But when the Divine Legacy series, actually the first book came out, I actually went septic in 2016. And I was full kidney, full liver, 50% cardiac failure. And I died on the table. But God said, I'm not done with you yet. So I'm like, okay, he's giving me another shot. I'm going to go and I'm going to push through and I'm going to run with it. So the Divine Legacy series is a multi-award winning series. So, had I died then, that wouldn't have come out. The Sands of Time trilogy wouldn't have come out. The Chain Reaction wouldn't come out. The one I'm working on wouldn't come out. But I decided to take that and just run with it. So my husband and I moved to a little 5-acre farm that we have in Lufkin. And I started the Journey is Real blog, which is basically, it's taking our 5-acre farm from ground zero to fully functioning, self-sustaining. And so I share our joys and our successes and our failures. And, I share everything. And people get to learn from it. And I do life applications with some of those lessons. And then the next thing that came out was my sister decided, she's also an author. It's L.M. Mann. And she had her first book come out in 2015. I finally kicked her in the tail and told her, go for it. And so she has several books out as well. And she says, we could actually just do this ourselves. And I'm like, I don't want to. She's like, no, we can really do it ourselves. So we started Sister Press. And initially we started because we started seeing like some indie authors. Let's face it, we need to cut corners, or we feel we need to cut corners. So sometimes they cut it in the editing, sometimes they cut it in the cover, and it shows very badly on the indie community as a whole. So we wanted to put out quality books with quality covers. The editing is good. And we wanted family friendly. My mom passed in 2021. She was an 87-year-old Southern Belle. And so that was going to be our line. If she could read it and not blush, we were good. It didn't necessarily have to be Christian, just a clean enough read that she wouldn't blush. So like my books are the limit on violence is what I tell people. That's usually where the bar stops because mine get kind of violent. But we don't have any sexuality, not a lot of language, and they're just clean reads, quality reads for every member of the family. And so we started it in 2019, and we opened it up to other authors. We have about 8 or 9 authors right now. She has since stepped away, so my husband and I kind of running it ourselves.
Thanks.
I know. So that's fun. Took that over this year. So that's and then also this year I started working with Lone Star Literary Life, and I'm one of their book bloggers. So I started what's called the Shelf Life blog. I also do some things on my own where I will review books. I'll interview authors. So there's tons of things on there. And I try to at least get something on there once a week for that one. And that's paid to read books. It's great. It's fun. I get tons of exposure. And then last year, my friend Mike and I, Michael Scott Clifton, he's another author, we started Book World Podcast, which is Book World: The Great Escape, because there's a lot of podcasts out there. We want to, when you go and you want to talk to authors and you kind of want to know a lot of the questions, it's like, you know what, let's just put it all out there, because let's face it, not just readers, but authors want to know some of those questions.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And we kind of gear it more toward the author world, but to readers as well, if they want to know some of the behind the scenes. And when we interview authors, we interview topically. So what is your genre? How does it differ from somebody else's? If somebody who wants to write this, what's the first step? Where do they go from it? Today we did one, it's at 1:00 on Wednesdays. We did one on holiday advertising, because authors sometimes don't even know how to get it out there. Where do they start? So we're doing a publishing one on the 30th of November and the 1st of December. How to avoid pitfalls. Where do you start? What does it entail? And so we have fun with that one. And then we're going on year 2. It'll be 2 years in April for the Con Hour, which was started by Greg Kelso. And he grabbed Amy Ravichandran as a co-host. And I think me in May of not last year, but the year before. And that was everything Comic-Con related. We get to interview tons of people, go to Comic-Cons, on the media pass. It's great. We get to do things like Thanksgiving weekend. We're going to Celtic Christmas weekend for Texas Ren Fest. And we get to go in, we get to interview people, take pictures, just have a lot of fun, and let everybody see what Comic-Cons are like, or the Ren Fests, or Terror Fest, or just all sorts of fun out there. We just enjoy it.
And you get to know a lot of people too when you go to Comic-Cons. But one last comment from George. He says, "LOL, Dragon. Thank you, Joan. You get a star on your Mother Goose chart."
Perfect. Well, and one of the things I did, my 50th birthday, HeroCon.
Have you ever been to HeroCon in Charlotte?
No, I kind of stay in Texas at the moment. Thank you. It's fun.
Marjorie Deering says, "I'm getting worn out just listening to all you do, CJ." I know. That's what I was thinking too. We're going to have to take a break and get a word from our sponsors, which you are one of our sponsors.
So hang on, everybody. We're going to, when we get back, we're going to talk some more. And here we go.
Welcome to Magnolia Bluff, Texas, a small town in the heart of the Texas Hill Country near Burnett Reservoir. A town where everyone's business is discussed at the local coffee shop. A town where neighbors look out for each other. A town not insulated from murder and mayhem. Which begs these questions. Who is responsible for breaking into quaint Victorian homes? And how are poodles, ghosts, drug cartels, and a Ponzi scheme connected with a serial killer? Caroline McCluskey, the town's librarian, catalogs books using the Dewey Decimal System. When a black and white poodle puppy arrives unannounced, she calls him Dewey. Now, Caroline must catalog events to identify a serial killer in her town. Pick up your copy of the Dewey Decimal Dilemma, now available on Amazon.
They thought the siren was dead. In the novel, Siren Song, by author George Dismukes. James Harmon shot her twice. Several people saw her dead body sinking slowly into the abyss. But now, in Siren Song 2, evidence suggests that she may still be alive.
She killed that boatload of people. It was her! And she's just getting started!
A.N.G.E.L, that's impossible.
The cold chill up my spine tells me it's not impossible. We've got to start all over again. And this time, do it right.
Siren Song 2. The story continues. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Get your copy today.
At Indie Book Source, you can shop by genre or by author, and you will be buying direct from the author's main purchase link. We offer hundreds of titles in formats that include ebooks, paperback, hardbound, and audiobook. Support an indie author. Visit indiebooksource.com today.
And we're back.
And Lonnie Becca Jones said, that looks good. Not sure which book we were referring to, but they all look good. So, and then Lonnie Becca Jones said, yes, George, this is a good book. So, yeah.
So I was going to say, with the Comic-Cons and getting to know people, I just turned 50 this year. So in June, I got to meet, we have like that top 10 group of people that you've always wanted to meet.
Yes. Just met one of my top 10 on our show.
Well, in 2020 last year? 2021. I was a handler for Kevin Sorbo. That was my number 5. And then for my 50th birthday, just in last June, I met my number 1, which was Sean Astin. I got to do the Dallas Fan Days or Fan Expo Dallas, and I got to meet him. So that was like my super highlight of my 50th birthday. And I told him, I said, it took me 50 years. I had broken one ankle and sprained the other in May. I said, I braved that and driving 3 hours into Dallas traffic to meet you. And he goes, so basically, he's a really cool guy. He's like, so basically you've been to Mordor and now we're sitting in the Shire drinking ale. And I'm like, yes. You're number 1 and he's really cool. It's really awesome. And then also I got my autograph from my number 3, which was Michael Shanks from Stargate.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Now, see, our daughter used to write for magazines and so she got all the press passes to go to all the Comic-Cons. And so she got to know a lot of those people. Joe Malozzi, I don't know if you know him, producer of Stargate.
No. Oh my gosh, that would have been so cool. That's I have all those.
And she ran David Hewlett's. He used to have a fan thing. Yeah, and she ran that for him. So, and she knows Jason Momoa. She knows all of the Stargate people. And
so I could be in heaven. Like Richard Dean Anderson from MacGyver on his
RDA to his fans. RDA, we love him.
So yeah, that's fun. I'm also a speaker. I know that's on the list down there too. I've done writing conferences. As a matter of fact, I have one in June or July up in Pennsylvania. I get to speak at for a week. So
Pennsylvania. Wow.
Have you watched The Rings of Power? We did talk about this.
Yes. Yep.
Oh my gosh, wasn't that so good?
Yep. I'm not going to say what's going on, but yes.
Oh my gosh, you guys, if you like Lord of the Rings, you've got to see The Power of the Rings because the pageantry is amazing. The cost of The Rings of Power. The storyline is, I love it. Anyway, I love it. And Becca says, I meant the first commercial looks really good. It does.
Because then she said,
was that
it's really good because she's already read it.
Yes.
Magnolia series? That the Magnolia series? Is that what that was?
Yes. It was
it
was Linda Pirtle's book from Magnolia series.
I used to be with the Underground Authors. I was with their first book. That's how I know Caleb and Linda and Rox and that whole group. CW. The whole group.
Great.
But yeah,
group.
no, I have all of their books. I've gotten to CWs. I haven't gotten very far in them because I'm doing other books. But no, they're a great group of authors. Totally recommend it. When they come up with this idea, I'm like, I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I'm like, I don't know how you're gonna do this, but have fun.
It's so good. And Joe Conjal is in the audience tonight, and he's just joined them. And so he's going to be writing for the second series,
Okay.
which will come out,
Linda starts in February.
So the second series
second
is coming
round.
out
Mhm.
soon. Yeah.
I mean, they're an awesome group of authors.
They are.
They
That's a
are.
great. That's a great
Under the
script.
Sea, where basically we took a picture that's on the cover, and everybody had to write a short story that somehow connected to that ship, to that boat. So it was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. Writers groups are a great idea.
Mhm.
And they're all wonderful authors.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You should.
Let me
I don't know what you're going to say, but you should.
Sure, why not? Go for
I
it.
should let people know where they can find you.
I
So
knew that's where you were going.
hold on to your hats and glasses, people, because it's a lot. All right. Her website is cjpetersonwrites.com. I'm going to spell this out once. CJPETERSON. You know how to write rights.
And the word rights.
Yes, the word rights. WRITES, that kind of rights. And then Texas Sisters Press.
Yeah, we didn't think that went through with all the S's.
And it's I had a
sounds like Gollum.
I had a teacher in high school that would have been saying, "You sound like a snake. Stop saying it."
My precious.
My TEXASSISTERPRESS.com. That's their publishing website. Facebook, you can find her at author ESSCJ. Authoress. Got it.
Mhm.
Authoress CJ, like CJ Peters.
Mhm.
Okay. Twitter is authoress underscore CJ. There's a reason why I'm pausing there. You'll see in a minute. Instagram is authoress underscore CJ. However, LinkedIn is authoress -CJ or dash, however you want to say it. All right. Well, we're not done.
You can always just go to the website because they're all over there. You can just click on the little icons and they'll take you.
If you get the website down, you're golden.
You're good to go.
YouTube is CJ Peterson.
Thank you.
And let's go ahead and get the book giveaway going.
Okay, let's get her email up here.
Let's do podcast here first.
I did that already earlier in the show.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'll do it again. Not watching.
No, not watching. It was on this show, right? Okay.
Yeah, you get to read the email.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. The email is cjpetersonwrites@yahoo.com, and the book giveaway is the first person to email cjpetersonwrites@yahoo.com will win an ebook copy of the Sands of Time trilogy.
All three books.
All three books.
All three books.
But one person will get all three.
One lucky person.
Go ahead and you better start typing fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's
so
all.
That was a fun series. I liked that one.
Okay. All right. We're
caught up with that.
Caught up with everything.
What's funny though is if you go to the site, I am pretty much everywhere. If there's a social media, I'm there. So you just click on whatever the icon is that you want to do, and I'm there.
I think some of our grandchildren are on Discord. Are you there?
Yep. No, I'm there.
We're not on Discord or TikTok.
We have trouble keeping up with the ones we
TikTok,
have.
I'm on TikTok, Pinterest, Discord, YouTube, Gab, Parler. I'm on, Goodreads. I'm on, obviously, Amazon. I'm pretty much okay. See, this is what happened. When I first started publishing, about a year after I started, I was invited to an indie author day to speak. And it was my first speaking. So, of course, I was nervous as, I'll get out. And I did it, and we did a little extra. And afterwards, a guy came to the table, and he goes, this is the first, he goes, I've never heard of you until now. He goes, and so I went and bought all your books. Well, my first thought is I should be absolutely thrilled on the second thing that he said. But the first thing is what stuck in my head is that he hadn't heard of me. So I'm like, I made it my goal from that point forward to make it, difficult not to find me somewhere, because if they don't know who you are, they'll never be able to read your books.
Exactly.
And so I'm just like there. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Joe Condell
Joe-
had the
Joe
question that was going
Condell.
through my mind as well.
He says, do you manage all those sites yourself? That's a lot of work. And it is a lot of work.
I do. And I manage Texas Sisters Press's website, and I do my own website. I do all the graphics. I'm the guy. They say, where's the guy to do that? I am the guy. I do that.
It's funny you mentioned ADD and OCD, which that is in our family. Almost all of us have ADD, OCD, and general anxiety disorder.
Mhm.
And we're always saying, thank you, OCD, or thank you, ADD, because that's why you can do all the things that you can do.
Exactly. There's usually two types of writers, I tell people. There's usually planners and pantsers. I am a full-bore pantser, which a pantser is literally sit down and write by the seat of your pants. That's why they call it
Lie
that.
by the seat of your
Right.
pants.
I literally sit down, pray, and type. So when I was doing like the Team A.N.G.E.L series, I had 3 pages of notes, and that was literally for the characters for all 12 books. That was it. There's just a list of the characters, the characteristics. That was it. And so I worked with the gentleman for our youth group because I was a youth group leader for 18 years. And so one day we taught a class on actually writing, and he sent me this 21 pages of just character arcs. And I'm like, you want to give a pantser hives, or stick them in a room with a planner. So we went in there and we're trying to explain the difference. And I put down the 21 pages. I said, this is for one book, and that's just the character arcs. That's not even the outline. I said, and these 3 pages of notes is for 12 books. I said, this is the difference between a planner and a pantser. And so it's like, I can keep things spinning in my brain. That's the ADD part, but the OCD part makes sure that everything falls into line.
Exactly.
Learning to work with it instead of fighting against it, it can be a beautiful thing. It's a creative mess, but it's an organized mess. It's kind of like organized chaos.
Yeah. So, Linda is definitely a plotter.
She does. I have a friend, Jana Morrow, and she is like a planner to the nth degree. She has Post-it notes that are color-coded. And I'm just like, ooh, they give me hives. Like,
Jan Roms does that.
Yeah, Jan Roms does too. Yeah.
Jan Roms does that too. She works off of a huge storyboard and has all kinds of notes. That would really literally drive me insane.
It would be too. I'm like, I feel so boxed in. And when Strength from Within was my very first book. And so, of course, everybody has that first book that they want to hide in a drawer. And I'm like, I can't, because the character, that's part of the ones where the characters cross over into the other storylines.
Yeah.
So instead of hiding it, I rewrote it. I wrote the Sands of Time trilogy in literally about a month and a half. For rewriting the Sands or the Strength from Within, it took me 6 months because it was just torture. Because I knew I had to stick to certain things within the storyline because it flowed over to the other storylines. It was brutal. It was, not good.
Speaking of brutal, it's time to take another little break. And so everybody sit tight. Don't go away. We've got a whole much more to talk about.
Another word from our sponsors.
So, you wrote a book. What now? It's time to make the choice between self-publishing and finding a publisher. Texas Sisters Press is a family-owned publishing company. We are also authors and avid readers. We can guide you through the entire process and will make sure your work is treated with the utmost respect. Where to start? Visit TexasSistersPress.com and click on the Submissions tab. Make sure you read the entire page. You'll find out what we can do and what we won't do. If you think we're a good fit for you, it's time to contact us. Texas Sisters Press. Quality books for the family.
Madison Jackson loved being a cop. A young girl is raped and murdered near Burnett Reservoir. Madison vows to get justice for the child. Madison travels to the heart of Mexican cartel country. She is kidnapped, tortured. Will Madison ever make it home? Justice by Kelly Marshall, only at Amazon.com.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book one of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
And we're back. So, CJ,
One.
pardon me?
I like that first commercial.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
What is your favorite hat?
Oh, that's
What do you enjoy? What do you enjoy the most?
That's like asking favorite. My first love is always writing, though. It's always going to be writing. I get paid for making stuff up. It's great. I enjoy bringing joy, and I enjoy making people think. Sometimes it changes people's perspective. One person called the Holy Flame Trilogy a spiritual reality check. You know, if I can get you to laugh and cry in the same book, then I have hit your core and I've done my goal.
Mhm.
So for me, it's always writing. If I can evoke that emotion in people, you know, it's that brings me pure joy. I have some people that will read the books and they'll message me as they're reading. I can't believe you did this. Are you serious? I'm here right now. And I'm just like, yep, I know where you're going. Just hold on. It'll get worse. Just, you know, keep going.
Just hold on, right?
So for me, it's more the writing.
So what's in the works for writing?
Okay. So the next book I'm working on is called Tested by Fire, and it's basically where a fire marshal falls in love with an arsonist. I love creating that moral dilemma. It's before he knew she was the arsonist, and the arsonist is a she, which is another twist that normally doesn't happen either. And so it's like that's unique for me. And so I like to write characters that, you know, go through it all, you know, and they come out in the end. And so, yeah, that's my next challenge.
Good. It's good to see people go through things, you know, and come out the other end. Because the only way you get to the end is to go through. So
People are like it. You remember that question, if you could change, you know, if you could go back, what would you change now?
the time travel.
Yeah. But for me, there was a stint in there where I was a domestic violence survivor from. And so they're like, well, would you change that? Honestly, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change anything I've gone through in life, because that made me who I am today. Without that experience, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be where I am. I might not have my husband, So for me, the experiences in life allow us to grow, and they challenge us and they change us in even the most horrific things that we go through. We go through it for a reason. So, for example, the domestic violence situation, a portion of the proceeds from Grace Restored series goes to Hope Store, domestic violence shelter in Plano. I'm giving back to them because they helped me, and in turn, they're helping others. So it's like, when you can take stuff that is a tragedy and turn it into something positive, then and potentially help somebody else, and people can get help even just reading the books, to me, that's a win-win.
Lonnie Becca Jones says, yes, I understand this. Yeah, so do I. All things work together for good, and that's the truth. And the Apostle Paul also said that he was not ashamed of his past. And I think that that's very true. I mean, he used to, assassinate Christians, and he wasn't ashamed of it because of what he learned through it and what he was able to do after going through that.
Yeah, turn a trial into a testimony.
Always. And, we had a teacher. He's passed away a long time ago, but he said, you always hear that God never gives you more than you can handle. That he always gives you grace to handle whatever you go through. And he said, that's true, but he always gives you more than you want to handle. And that's the truth. Going through things isn't easy. Trials by fire are not easy, but they do produce good things if you go through it, and if you let it produce what it needs to produce in you.
Yeah. Find out, some people are a blessing, some people are a lesson. You just have to learn from it.
That's the truth for all of us till we leave planet Earth. We're gonna keep learning, hopefully. But yeah,
it just triggers another story. It's all good,
So Marjorie Daring says, I see you chose to use C.J. Peterson on all your books rather than using a different pen name on your children's books. Has that been a plus or a negative, or isn't that even an issue?
It's not really an issue, because my tagline is, while the stories are fiction, the journey is real. So basically, if you look at everything is threaded by the journey. Everything that I do, all the between the blogs, the podcasts, the publishing, everything is a journey. And for me, it's about the journey. And because I branded that way, everybody knows it's a journey. And generally speaking, I brand to me the author. However, when it did come to Chief and Sarge, they do have their own handles. They have their own social media. Chief and Sarge have their own. So, it is a little bit of a distinction. But I had a friend when I first started writing. She was a romance author, and she was starting to journey into the paranormal romance. And she said to me, she goes, because I'm normally a romance author, I'm thinking about writing a new pen name. And I said, why would you do that? And she said, because it's a different genre. I said, do actors, when they change genre, change their names? No. So why do we have to pigeon an author in a specific genre? Now, if it was something like going from erotica to children's books, yes, I wholeheartedly recommend name.
Might be a good idea.
Want to put the wall up there. Yeah.
But I am a Christian fiction author. And so that's not a huge bridge to gap between Christian fiction author to children's author, because it's still in the clean reads category. So for me, it's not a problem. But I told her, I said, why would we pigeonhole authors and not actors? Don't pigeonhole yourself. I said, plus you're going to have to start branding all over again.
That's your branding. that takes a long time. That
It
branding,
does.
you shouldn't change it. I
And
agree.
going social media and, starting all over
That's
again.
right.
And then you got to remember, who am I in this part? Who am I at this show? I said, Wordsworth, I'm like, you know what? It's all there. That's who I am.
Hmm. I agree. Because it is all of, you do have to get out there. Like you said, you decided to be all over social media. And I think that that's one of the most daunting things for new authors is the self-promotion, because we've all been taught to be, humble, or most of us have been anyway. And it's very difficult to self-promote. And then you have to self-promote everywhere you can think of.
It is, but if it's done right, it doesn't. When you self-promote, you can promote interviews like Meet the Author podcast.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I didn't mind branching into publishing, the blogs, and the podcasts and speaking, because guess what? You're still promoting yourself. You're still getting your name out there. You're still doing it. If you only write, like my sister has done one book for middle grade readers. The rest of hers are for the younger crew. But this one book she's only done since 2015, and it's the first book in the series. She hasn't done the second one. And I said, you could only advertise that one book so many different ways, so many different times.
That's
You
right.
have to get new material out there. And when you do that, it doesn't make it seem that bad. And then also, people want to get to know the author.
Yes.
More with their books.
Yes.
So when they get to know you, they get to know, okay, well, I might connect with her here, or connect with her there, or connect with him there, or connect with her there. For my newsletters, I do an every other week newsletter. It's every other Friday. This Friday is when it's coming out next. It's every other Friday. In the last section, I do what's called the Treehouse question. And it's where they get to ask me a question. It's an icebreaker question. I have to answer it. Sometimes they're cruel. Like, name one treat. If you could have it for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I have to come down to one treat. But, sometimes they're fun. And it lets people get to know me on a different level. And when they hit reply, they can answer it for themselves, and I get to know them as well. And I like that bridge.
Yes, that's exactly why we did this
for
podcast.
your newsletter. They can sign up. Listeners can sign up on your website, right?
Definitely. Yep.
Okay. We have some comments here. First, a nice one. Casey Rose says, one of my favorite authors. They are all nice. All right, guys.
Don't be worried.
Yes. No, some really bad ones. No. Marjorie Deering said, good point, CJ. Using a different pen name for different genres is recommended by a lot of people. But to me, it seems like dumping your readers and starting all over again. Exactly, Marjorie. Why would you dump your readers? That's really the truth. Lonnie Becca Jones says, I have a pen name for my children's book. My author name is Becca L. Jones, but my pen name for my children's book is Tutu B. Jones. And the reason I did that is my children's books are true stories about my grandparents, and they are dedicated to my grandkids for them. And Tutu is Hawaiian, where I lived for 20 years, means grandma in Hawaiian. So that's why I decided for a pen name. Stephen King had a pen name. Dr. Seuss had a pen name. He certainly did, which would be Dr. Seuss. Had a pen name. And both of them hardly had any sales on their books that they, wait a minute, there must be a second part. Oh, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Hardly any sales. They had a lot of sales. Yep.
But it's like when you go to start it and you do that, a lot of times authors will start a social media for like a specific series. That series is usually limited unless you're planning on spanning it for like years. So it's like they have to start a new one with that series. They have a new one with another series. They have a new one with another one. That's a huge mistake that authors make. But if they bring it to themselves, then it makes life a little bit easier. So like I said, I wrote originally Big People books. I call my husband Super Hubby. So Super Hubby is a 24 and a half year Navy vet. He was a corpsman. And he's in the Chief and Sarge books with me. Like I said, we were on the cover, so people know him as Super Hubby. And it gets kind of bad because Peterson is my maiden name, so they call him, Trevor Peterson, and it's like, no, that's not his name. But but that's what they know me by. So it's like, however you brand yourself, that will dictate how, you're going to name yourself. In other words, like I said, if it's just your, flipping genres, I'm a multi-genre author. I know a lot of multi-genre authors. As long as you're not doing something directly in conflict, like an erotica to a children's author, it's okay to use the same name. If you're doing something like this lady's doing, honoring, her grandparents, that's totally up to you. Go for it. Just it does get tricky because I know some authors who have like 3 and 4 pen names because they felt they needed change when they changed genres, and keeping them straight is like, who am I talking to? And they're like, oh wait, who are you talking to? I can't imagine that it kind of fractures your brain a little bit. I'm that OCD and ADD. I don't know that I could comprehend that too easily.
Yeah. And like you said, it's writer's choice.
Definitely. Totally.
Each one of us has to do the best that we can do, right?
If you can keep it straight, go for it. But I have so many other hats on, keeping my name straight. I'm lucky if I remember it in the morning, so I'm good.
Marjorie Deering said, split personalities. Yeah.
Exactly.
So we touched on it earlier. You have a podcast. Tell everybody where.
Two podcasts. 2
podcasts. Tell everybody where and how they can watch.
Okay. Well, the easiest way, honestly, is to go to my website because everything is there across the top.
Okay.
Blogs are there, the podcasts are there, the books are there. Even Texas Sisters Press has a page there, and we'll send you to Texas Sisters Press. All my social medias are there. But under the podcast, Book World, The Great Escape is on Wednesdays at 1. If you click on the little podcast link at the top, you'll see a drop down. You're going to see Book World, The Great Escape, as well as the Con Hour. The Con Hour is every Tuesday at 11, as well as another live one later. Both of them are live broadcasts, so it gets kind of fun.
And those are Central Time in the U.S.
Correct, Central Time in the U.S. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, that gets kind of fun in trying to figure out the time zones. Yeah,
Central it does. And we have people in New Zealand that watch this show and listen to this podcast. So, yeah, awesome. And all over the place.
All the links are listed. So if you're in a time zone where you're not up at 1 o'clock on Central Time, that's okay. You can listen to it or you can watch it on my YouTube channel.
Exactly.
There you go.
YouTube has done something funny that I just saw today that they've changed from last week, where the live ones have their own tabs. So
yes, they do.
That, and I don't like it because it doesn't look like there's been activity on there.
No, it's all separate. Yeah.
Click on the live to find the live ones.
And past live shows and
past lives.
Past lives. Yeah.
But the easiest way, honestly, is to go to my cjpetersonwrites.com. Click on whichever podcast you want. All the links are on there, and just subscribe to whichever one you use the most, whichever one you utilize.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's why we've got the website up there, folks, so you can take a look at it, and then you can find all the things that CJ is doing.
Yep. If you're interested in a speaker, I even have a page for speaking, and I have, I think, about a dozen already ready to go. And if it's not on there, let me know and I'll figure it out.
Sure, you have a link on there for the Texas Sisters Press as well. So
you just go
to the one place and they're interconnected. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I try to make it easy.
There you go. The complicated thing, but you make it easy.
Doesn't always work, but I try.
There you go.
I have a question before we go. I know we're coming to the end of the hour. We're almost at an hour's up. Yeah. You are on so many sites. Do you post the same post or do you change them for each site? Because that just seems like a lot of work to me.
I post the same post because they're for different type of people. Usually the older crew is for Facebook. The The kind of younger crews are usually TikTok and
Discord.
Instagram, Discord, and then you get a mix with TikTok. Pinterest is always fun. You get to learn a lot on my Pinterest. I even have like a survival board. I think that's that and the photography one are usually the more popular ones that are on my Pinterest board. So yeah, there's different things, and then Twitter is just, just cut the post down.
Yeah.
So it just makes it a little bit easier, but a lot of times it's pretty much across the board.
Yeah.
It just depends on what age you're kind of hitting.
Yeah.
Now, there are different pages on all those. I actually have between 3 and 5 pages on all of those, so that gets kind of fun, at least most of them. And so, for example, Chief and Sarges, a lot of those are geared toward children's books. The Shelf Life blog, Book World, a lot of Texas Sisters Press's stuff. And then mine are mostly geared toward, mine's totally geared toward me, but all the rest of those are geared toward book related. So it just depends. And then I have Serenity Acres Apiary, which is our apiary and gardens. So it depends on what it is, on which one it goes to.
Interesting.
Yes.
It's a big job.
It's fun, but it's doable.
It is doable. And
well, you're doing it, so
I think that should encourage
it
people.
Is doable.
I feel encouraged. I think we should open up a TikTok.
I do not.
I don't either.
It's not as scary as people think. And book talk is a huge hashtag on TikTok.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay.
And so like one of mine is like over, 800 or 900 views. So it just, and what it does is it also creates a video that I can share across the others. And that sends it back with my authoress _CJ, handle that's across the board. So it can be a very usable tool. A lot of people don't like it, but it's totally up to you. Whatever you're comfortable with, because technology can be a bear. Technology can be difficult. If you can figure it out, it can be a very useful tool, and you don't have to pay a dime for it.
There you go.
I know that's the best thing so far.
So far.
Yeah. No one say anything else.
Well, Elon Musk is thinking of changing the game. So
great.
I think it's already changing.
Yeah.
Well, CJ, thank you so much for joining us. I know you were a little under the weather this past week. And glad to see you are feeling better anyway.
This is actually the best my voice has sounded all week. So
there you go. Yeah.
Got it on a good day. Thank you so much for having me on. It was such a treat. You guys are awesome.
It was for us too. Joe Conjal says, good show tonight. CJ is super interesting. Thanks, Rob, Joan, and CJ.
Thank you.
And Marjorie Daring says, thank you all for another great podcast. It was a lot of fun and really interesting. We all learned a lot, I think, and got encouraged.
Did you see that one?
Yep. Go ahead. You can put it up.
Okay. And Dr. Keshab Mandel says, I am happy to participate in the author's meet.
And we're glad that you decided to comment, because sometimes people are a little nervous to comment. So we appreciate your comment.
It's hard to watch on LinkedIn, but
yes, and it's difficult to comment from LinkedIn. Right. Dr. Mandel, next time you might want to try one of our YouTube pages or one of our Facebook pages.
There you go. So thank you again. We're going to move you over to the side here. There you go. And stay right where you're at until we come back to you. I want to remind everybody, episode rewind Saturday night, 5:30 p.m. right here where you're at. Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles Revealed Part 1 is going to replay at that time. And that's 5:30 p.m. Eastern time here in the U.S. Next Wednesday is Doug Gardam, a Canadian author. And then on the 30th, live show with Jen Braxma with her book, Evangeline's Heaven. That's this book right here. Jen Braxma. And so that's a pretty interesting book. Wanted to show everybody this t-shirt here. A little bit. This is our from our website, indiebooksource.com. Drop by there. You can see a couple of different Bigfoot geared, but it's all reading themed merchandise.
There's other things in Bigfoot reading.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, not just Bigfoot. No, just what I'm wearing is Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So. At any rate, do you have anything else you would like to chat about?
I would like to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Yes.
Next week, as Rob said, will be a pre-recorded show because I will be cooking and cleaning and doing all that stuff on Wednesday, and I will be too tired to do a podcast. And just have a wonderful time with your family.
Yes. Enjoy and be safe. So until next time.
That's all, folks.
That's all.
Good night.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen G's welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie, and you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.